The church that God is raising is a praying church. Because very soon, our meetings will not be in auditoriums. It will be in the spirit. The witches have gone too far. Witches enter meetings through trees. They knew how to travel to the spirit realm. And today, we are still struggling, trying to get things done in the flesh. Meanwhile, our counterparts in the negative supernatural have gone far. When they go for their meetings, they don't carry cars there. They appear. They appear in the meeting. And it's not a testimony. If I appear on this altar, I assure you everybody will run. But in the demonic coven, it's a normal thing. They know the spirit realm. Some people, they pray a whole year to encounter the devil. When you tell believers, let's go on 40 days fasting, they say, what? What do you mean? That's why we are weak. We have no power in the spirit. In the demonic realm, even the least in the demonic coven comes to the meeting by teleporting. And we today, we are still quoting Philip went to Samaria. Philip and the Holy Ghost took him to Azotus because of where we are in spiritual economy. We have not graduated because we don't have men to pay the price. We don't have men. You say you are a young man and you have no power in the spirit. What is your strength for? He said, I write unto you, young men, because you are strong. The word of the Lord abides in you. You have overcome the evil one. Today, young men are still looking for direction. How can you be looking for direction? Your prime. This is your prime. How can you be seeking direction? You should have ascended the mountain and you know your future. That no false prophet can come to deceive you. When they talk to you, look at them and say, sir, I know where I'm going. I wasn't told by a man. I saw it in the mountain. I can tell you where I will be in the next 30 years. I saw it. That's the beauty of young men. They know where to deploy their strength. And when a young man comes out, the glory of a young man is the glory of the spirit that he carries. The power that he mirrors. When you want to find young men, you should find them on the altar. That's when there is a hope for a generation. Not young men that talk and back different kinds of haircut and they have followers on Facebook. We need men that can change things on the altar. Then you know that a generation has hope. When young men gather, it's not gossip. Unfortunately, our generation today, when young men gather, they are either talking football or they are gossiping. We want to change our world. It's no joke. The things happening in this country, it's not just because men are wicked. Men have encountered wicked spirits, strange demons. You see pregnant women being butchered. You think it's wickedness? There are princes of wickedness that have encountered men. Made people become psychopaths and sociopaths. They no longer have conscience. You want to contend with such men, you think it's English language. You coin English language because few people can clap for you. In the realm of the spirit, they don't hear English. They hear spirit and life. What is the weight of witness that you bring? You see young ladies that have fornicated and lived as prostitutes for 5 years. You think English language will change them? Do you know the complex, dark algorithm that have been set in motion in political corridors? You think we will just stand and say Nigeria will be great again and Nigeria will become great? Do you know the spirits that have appeared to men in power? Do you know the covenants that men have entered with demons? When we come for encounter services like this, we have come to a place where we will never go back. We have made up our mind that until our God appears as a consuming fire, we will not go back, because there's a generation that depends on our walk with God. The reason we can serve God today is because men after us paid the price, and we have no right to live here until we pay the price to secure a heritage for the next generation. Encounters are not a joke. They are tokens for spiritual men that pay prices in the spirit. The laws of encounters. The laws of encounters. A day will come when politicians will be prophets. Senators will be apostles. Because they will not be told about God. They will know him personally. A day will come where vigils will no longer be for the poor members of the church. Even the wealthy will come for vigils and they will pray till morning because they have a relationship with God. A day will come when evangelism will no longer be for children. Even men of reputation will go to the street and win souls because they are servants of God. Because God is not raising superstars. He's raising an army. He's raising a warrior church. And every one of us must come to the point of willingness to pay the price. We are not preachers. We are not singers. We are witnesses to our generation. And the reason we are witnesses is because we've had encounters that bring us to that point where we can demonstrate that which you say. A spirit will never reveal himself to you until you seek him with the whole of your heart. And when a man is seeking with the whole of his heart, there's a way he goes about it. So the spirit knows you. He knows the last time you wanted to marry, you were talking on phone till 3 a.m. and you had power over sleep. So 3 a.m. you are still agile. Oh, and the lady say, I want to sleep, I'm tired. It's okay, in the next 5 minutes. 5 minutes will always be 50 minutes. 50 minutes will be 3 hours. Now you want to see God. You say, Lord, I seek you with all my heart. 10 minutes you sleep. You are joking. When you were looking for a contract, you could sit down with all the files and you followed till 4 a.m. in the morning looking for God. The spirit know how you seek things with all your heart. So when you come to seek him, the same tenacity and focus with which you used to seek that lady, with which you used to seek that contract, until you hit that contract in the spirit, you will not get that spirit's attention. That's why I said you will seek me and you will find me. When you seek me with the whole of your heart, I know how you seek things with the whole of your heart. When you wanted to impress that man, if he says he's coming by 2 p.m., you start preparing from 8 a.m. You go and cut your nails, you do all the eyelashes, you put your foundation, you buy a new gown, you iron it, and then God tells you there's a meeting by 6, and you wait until 5:40. You now start on, where's my clothes? You don't know what you're doing. And then when you come to church, you now lift your hands and you are crying, I need you. When he looks at you, you'll be laughing. When the man said he was coming, you prepared for 8 hours. Now you want to come for service. You use 5 minutes and you run into service. You say, Jesus, you know I love you. Why are you feeling that biochemical reaction? Clean your face and seek God. You that was looking for job, they told you that the venue of the interview is 8 kilometers. You were there by 5:40 a.m. You traveled for 8 kilometers. You came before they opened the office. Now you say you are seeking God, and service will go for 1 hour before you stroll in and say, Kai, Abuja, I don't understand this city. But the city could not tell you when you were looking for a job. Now that you are seeking God, the city can tell you. When you become serious, you will find him. The Bible said God hides himself in the deep darkness. In Exodus chapter 20 verse 21, it said Moses stepped into the deep darkness where God was. There are men that have sought him in the sun and in the rain. They have sought him in the light and in the dark. So God can't hide himself from them anymore. When God finds such a man, he will invest himself to him as a token. That's why he told Abraham, I am your seed and your exceeding great reward. You woke up in the morning, you felt like fasting. You say, oh boy, this is no easy. Maybe tomorrow may not be the Kairos moment. Tomorrow may not be the Kairos moment. Tomorrow, no. It's not everybody that will encounter God in a conference. It's not everybody that will encounter God by laying on of hands. We have different ways of responding to God. And God knows the way he fabricated you in the studio of eternity. So many times he knows the language that will reach you fast is the language of burden, because you are a man that pay attention to details, and he brought burden, but you aborted it. How many burdens have we aborted that have denied us life-changing encounters? Many things waiting in the spirit, but we can't travel there. When Moses left Egypt for 40 years, he kept that burden in his heart. He kept it until one day the Bible said he went to the backside of the desert. And as he was there, he saw a bush burning that was not consumed. The first thing God began to do was to talk to him about Israel, because God knew that was the burden of his heart. How many burdens will our generation abort? The devil knows this intelligence. That's why when you look around you, everywhere is littered with distractions. Those are burden aborters. You are the burden, and all of a sudden you step into the parlor and they are watching a seasonal movie, and then you sit down and say, after a while, you say, wait. You now sit. After a while, you now bring your pillow and lie down. You didn't know that that was a clinical abortion taking place. When you finish watching that seasonal movie, you will stand up, and the burden you carried from the bedroom, you can't find it anymore. You will go back to your religious prayer. Shabba, 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 shabba. You will do shabba, shabba, shabba for another 3 years because you lost a kairos moment. Many don't enter the gates of encounter. We believe so much in activities. Powerful men are not just given to activities, they are given to moments. Did you not see the man that was at the pool of Bethesda for 38 years? You know he's a man of activity, because even when Jesus came in the flesh, he couldn't discern him. They said, would you be made whole? They said, I've been here for 38 years. They didn't ask you for how long you have been here. Activities have distracted you. Would you be made whole? I've been here for 30. Who asked you how long you have been here? That's why every time the water is stirred, that's when he's distracted. And that you are there for 40 years will not create any change. There are applications of the spiritual ready. When your kairos moment comes, will you know? Jesus said in Luke 19:44, he said there will be gnashing of teeth. He said the city will be besieged on every side. He said many will weep. Why? Because they know not the times of their visitation. When men are preparing for war, that's when some go to have pleasure. And he said, woe unto you if your prince is a child and eat for pleasure and not for strength. It's beware to understand the movements of the wind. That's why David never hurried to battle. He said, when you see the mulberry tree move, I have gone ahead of you. The army can be at the backyard shouting. David will still be consulting with the Urim and the Tumim. They say you are late. Give me time. There's a language of the spirit I'm trying to decipher. It came as a body. It's an encoded language. Sometimes the word of your destiny, it comes in form of take care of us. Take care of us. It's a language of angels. So you can't just know it with your mind. You need to go back to the corridor of the spirit where the language came from and find out what does this code mean. And you will go back. Makoria. I'm on 35 years, and this is the only suitor that came in 15 years. I will still not rush. If I sense a body, I will interpret it, because it's not who married first that makes impact. It's who marries according to the will of God. And as you are praying, after a while, you will break into chants, and you'll be chanting in your room. And sometimes while you are yet praying, you find yourself running. That running that you are running is not physical running. You are covering mileage in the spirit. You are covering dimension in the spirit. And you will wake up all of a sudden. Those who started 20 years ago, they will become your disciples. And they say, what happened? While I was interpreting body, I went ahead in the spirit. If you don't have encounters, your life will be compelled to the things that give you value. And if that is the value of your life, then even a demon can bargain you. Because the only thing they can't buy in the spirit realm is the blood of Jesus. And that was what was given for you to be bought. But when you don't have encounters to know that I don't need to have a car to be a king, you'll be looking for a car to determine your value. And when you have a car, you want the whole world to know that you have a car. It's a testimony in the spirit that you have not found yourself. And when the demon sees a man who has not found himself, he has a prize. Paul said, I have learned to abound and to abase. I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. My value is not in mundane things. Thank God for the car. Thank God for the job. Thank God for the money. They are all instruments for advancing kingdom. But with or without them, I'm basking in joy every morning, because I'm a king. I'm a king. My value is not in natural things. He has made me a king and a priest. He said, if God withheld not his son, but gave him freely for us, how shall he not with him give us all things? Somebody ask you, what are you what? I'm what Jesus. That's why Jesus was giving for me. I'm what Jesus. And if I'm what Jesus, is he a car that will determine my value? No, a car is an instrument. I'm what Jesus. What are you what? I'm what Jesus. You are not a wretch. Jesus will not be given for a wretch. You are what Jesus. Your value in the spirit realm is the blood of Christ, because you matter to God. And when you know you matter to God, even when the chips are down, you will stand up and say, as a king, I have power with God and I have prevailed. Because the way you will change the circumstance is not by crying, it's by talking to it. Say to this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast away. And if you do not doubt in your heart, but if you don't know your value, you will doubt. Because it will look as if you are not worthy of it. It will look as if things cannot change. But if you know who you are, because encounters have made you to know, nothing can move you. No matter what happens, you will be like Mount Zion that cannot be moved. Men are futile. Men are vain. Men have no value in the spirit because they have traded their spiritual value for mundane things. For mundane things. So it's when we have something to show in the flesh that we think we have arrived. No. The day Jesus bought you, that was the day you arrived. And you will not have anything greater than that. The vanity of life is the undoing of the fallen man. He thinks things define him. No, things don't define you. Only God defines you. But it is encounter that will teach you that. It is encounter that will teach you that only God defines you. Only God defines you. Your value is in God. Many times you see people and they are treated like animals. And they think they are being helped because they don't know who they are. It's not money that gives you value. It's God that gives you value. But it's only encounter that will make you know. Do you know why a lady would go and give up her virginity for money or for a grade in an exam? Do you know why a man will lie and compromise to win a contract? Because he thinks his life depends on that contract. When he realizes that he is worth more than everything around him, nothing can move him anymore. Whatever happens, he will stay still. He will stand with God, and God will come true for him. Because he said, I have not called the seed of Jacob to seek me in vain. Encounters will separate reality from vanity. And a man will choose reality because he has seen through the light of God. There is a level you must find God to as a testimony that is your greatest motivation. It's your greatest desire. You must find God, and your quest for him must surpass every other. It's a body. The third law of encounter is the law of standing in the presence. He said to Elijah, go and stand on the mountain, and I will appear to you. I will show myself before you. When men don't build capacity in prayer, they will never have encounters with God. Encounters are tokens for men who service the altar. He said, as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered. You desire encounters, your altars must come alive. Your altars must come alive. Nothing inspires me in scripture more than men that have power on the altar. Anybody can preach. You can leave a Bible school and become a great preacher. You can be an orator and become a great preacher. But it takes spiritual stamina to be a man of prayer. Because in the realm of God, power is not the ability to raise the dead. Because people don't die there. In the realm of God, power is not the ability to heal the sick. Because people don't fall sick there. In the realm of God, power is the ability to stand in the presence. That's why I said the four beasts, day and night, forever and ever, they stand before God and they have one testimony: holy, holy, holy is the Lord. When God finds such men, he gives them his presence as a token. And that's why when Gabriel came to Zacharias, he said, I am Gabriel that standeth in the presence. Because in the realm of God, that is a scepter. It's a place of power that a man can stand. Apart from the knowledge of God, all that will be left will be mundanity, vanity upon vanity. Nothing will have value, because substance in the spirit is how much of God you carry. And so we began in the morning by explaining that before God began the project of creation, he was. And so God is not primarily a creator. God is more than a creator. But you see, one of the adventures that he embarked upon in a bid to derive pleasure was creation. You know, when you want to derive certain kinds of pleasure, you may need to step out of your environment and travel probably to the Bahamas. And when you look upon the blue beach and the skies, it will bring you some form of experience and succor that will make you derive pleasure that you cannot tell. You will spend your money, you will spend your time to achieve that. The reason you pursue after certain kinds of pleasure is because it's a nature that was ingrained on your inside. That man also requires certain kinds of satisfaction in order to find some level of rest. And man is not the only person that has such tendencies. Before God began creation, there were many other business of God that God was involved in, that is not allocated to creation to understand. But when he wanted to derive pleasure, because there was nowhere for him to go, because he is his environment. Because before God was, there was nothing. So God was not just a being, he was his environment. So God could not travel around the way you will. So he began through the act of his wisdom and creativity, different kinds of projects that will give him the kind of pleasure that he could not find. Because eternity itself is a reality that dwells in God. Because God was before eternity was created. So even eternity is not sufficient to host the person of God. So even in the heavens, the fullness of God cannot enter heaven. Heaven can't contain him. So once and again, the glory of God visits heaven. And when the angels look upon him, they think they have exhausted him, but they see him and they see a different dimension and they worship. When they are done worshiping and they lift up their faces again, what they see they've never seen before, and so they worship. So even though the 24 elders have 24 thrones, they don't sit on it. It's a waste of time, because when you look upon that oracle, when you turn again, you see another dimension. The glory and the avalanche of his presence is enormous that heaven can't contain him. So once and again, God visits heaven with different dimensions of glory. I don't have time to tell you the technology of the visitations of God to heaven. The reason God is clothed with crystals is because crystals reflect light, and God is light. God actually dwells in the realm of light. That's why in Ephesians chapter 4 verse 10, when Jesus ascended, he didn't go to heaven. He said he went far above heavens, because there is a dwelling of light that God himself dwells. In that dwelling, God is his habitation. But once in a while, in order for creation to experience his dimension, he visits heaven as thunder and lightning. He visits heaven with glory, and the angels, having realized that relevance in the spirit is how much of God you have, will continually absorb him through worship. So when the 24 elders bow, they are interacting with the dimension they have seen. But eternity is insufficient to host God. When you find men compromise so easily, they've not had encounter of their destiny. They don't know why they came, and God have not given them the strategy. So they want to do the one that works. We are not looking for what works. We are looking for what is prescribed. And when we find what is prescribed, it will not only work, but in it we will find ourselves in God. Number 4, encounters will empower you to institute spiritual civilizations. He sent his word to Jacob, he lightened upon Israel. When God calls a man, it's beyond the man. Many years ago, the patriarch encountered God. Probably he was alone. We are all gathered today because a tribe have come out of that encounter. If God meets a man, it's beyond that man, because God is too big to do business with a man that has a lifespan. Everything God do does not have a lifespan. It must be eternal like God. So the only way it can be sustained is when that vision is immortalized. And the way visions are immortalized is when they are institutionalized. So when God called Abraham, he wasn't just looking at Abraham, he was looking at a tribe. He wasn't looking at a tribe, he was looking at a nation. Until the end of time, Abraham will remain relevant, because God used him to pioneer another order. God used him to pioneer a nation. When a spirit encounters a man, he wants to establish his dominion on the face of the earth. So you may look like one young man today that doesn't appear to be anything great. Wait until the encounter of your destiny comes. When that encounter comes, after 10 years, that one man will become 10,000 people. After 20 years, that one man will become 1 million people in 50 nations. And before you know it, even when the man leaves time, that encounter will still be a testimony on earth. Not every night that men should sleep. There are certain nights that a burden comes upon you. If you need to put your leg in water to pray till morning, put your leg in water. By all means, have that encounter. Every time there is an alteration in spiritual frequency, make sure you isolate the counsel of God that came with it. That's what will make your life relevant. You can be promoted in the spirit 7 times in 1 year if you can maximize it. That's why you look at certain men, you say, why is God favoring this person? God is not a respecter of person. The man just knows how to maximize spiritual moments. If God favors men, he would have been biased, but God is not biased. The man has 7 encounters in 1 year. He entered all of them. You have 13 encounters. You entered 1. How do you think you can be the same with that man? You may disciple him in Bible school. He can become your pastor. Bodies, the language of bodies, they are not tangible, but they are heavy. No man can deny it. So God himself will put it upon you. Even if you are sleeping, sometimes God wakes you up in the night and you don't know why you woke up. You try to play music to sleep, you can't sleep. Be wise. There's an angel lurking by the corner. There's a message from heaven. There's a message. When you find out that unexplainable things begin to happen around your life, shut down your natural elements, because you need to heighten your spiritual propensity. Attendance to body is one of the ways of maximizing spiritual realities, but many don't know the language of bodies. They say, I don't know how I was feeling. You don't know how you were feeling. It's a language of the spirit. Find out what it means. Go on your knees, take a fast quickly, because a window has opened in the spirit. But when you find men on the altar, they are genuine men. He said the priest must put wood on it every morning. The fire on the altar must not be put out. The reason our Christianity is weak and psychological is because we don't have men of prayer. When men build capacity on the altar, it will be commonplace. When you come to such meetings, you won't find sick people, because when they stay in the presence for long, their body, the molecular structure of their body will be altered. When they stay, you can't talk to that kind of church, because nobody will be naive. When you are talking about the spirit realm, they know, because that's their everyday life. You can't come and say an angel appear, they live there. And if you begin to lie, they will look at you like this. They will know you are a joker, because even the realm where they are sent to, you have not reached there. Our generation has been robbed of encounters because we lack discernment and because we lack honor. We dishonor everybody, we take everybody for granted, and we lack the encounters, and so the quality of our lives don't change. We keep walking in confusion, not knowing our purpose and our calling. We keep walking struggling in life when everything we need has already been invested, but we can't discern it. At times when you sit down, you become dissatisfied with the state of your family. How come people are struggling to get married while we are beautiful? It's not about marriage. An encounter is inviting you. Many times you sit down, why are debts in this family? It's not about the debt. An encounter is inviting you. Many times you are troubled, why is nobody succeeding? Are we not supposed to? Are we not good enough? An encounter is inviting you. When a body begins to come to your spirit, shut down. That's a man who understands the law of body and begin to entreat the Lord. What are you saying? What are you saying? What are you saying? Not long enough, as you service that body, you will begin to hear sounds. So many other elements that travel to your space with that body will begin to lend themselves to you. And you stood up before, the body was about death, the body was about lack of success, and you started praying. After a while, that same body now begins to talk to you in intangible but very cognitive terms. Add fasting to this prayer. And then you added fasting. You don't know what you are doing. You have fasted for 20 days. You don't even know why you are fasting, but the body will not go. And as you are servicing that body in prayer and in fasting, when you read the 30th day, it says add worship. And then you add worship. You didn't know what you were doing. At the end of the day, you are climbing Horeb. It's a 40 days journey. You are climbing, you are not aware. If you continue for a while, you will discover that you will hit a zenith in the spirit. And one day, the same prayers you have been praying, the same fasting you have been fasting, while you are yet fasting, you will encounter the Father and he will begin to speak to you. And that day the Father will let you know the death was an excuse to bring you to the mountain of encounter. Many times when you want to find out your capacity in the spirit, it's not about preaching. You can preach a series for 4 weeks, but go and stand before God for 10 hours. That's when you know those who have capacity. Men who can travel. Because when you want to stand in the presence, it's like ascending the mountains of God. Many times Moses will climb Sinai for 40 days. He's climbing, he will fall, he will climb. When you ascend Sinai is over 6,000 feet tall. Your legs will be blistered, your hands will be blistered. It takes hunger, power, and a state of not compromising to be able to stand in the presence. And Moses will labor until he gets there. And when he gets there, God doesn't even show up. He will still tarry for 6 days. And when God descends on that mountain, when God descends, Moses doesn't return as a mortal. He returns as a mortal. And he said, even Moses wished not that his face began to shine. He had paid too many prices for God not to allocate a measure of his presence to him as a weapon. When Moses walks through a city, his word is law. With a staff, he could part the Red Sea. He had become a creature that could not be explained because of the texture of encounters that he paid the price for. He went through prayer. He tarried on the mountain until God appeared. There are men who will hold on to him and say, I will not let you go. I will not. He's terminal in the spirit. You want to find strong men? They are not on the pulpit. They are on the altar. Anybody can be on the pulpit.